Welcome back to the Wizard Shop. We've got two diesels running. We're going to talk about these right after this. As you can see, we have the ballad of the dueling diesels playing behind me. It's music to my ears. It's beautiful. It's not music to my nose, though. It kind of stinks in here. Ain't that right, Mrs. Wizard?
Oh, yeah.
It smells bad in here. We talked to you guys about getting a parts car. It's a running, kind of driving one. We're going to look at that car today because we're going to be robbing tons and tons of parts off of it for that car. Let's get these things turned off. One of them I have to turn off manually under the hood. This one I didn't have the keys to it. I don't know what I did with the keys, but I took the keys out of this one and it actually worked on that one. Whatever, you know. Let's get these things turned off. Thanks for help guiding me in. This thing has no brakes, 0 brakes. So I kind of just modulated the shifter, drive, neutral, drive, neutral. I got it in here. I had Magic Mike help me so I don't run Mrs. Wizard over. What do you think about this old thing?
It's perfect. It's in brand new condition.
No, it's not in brand new condition. It's not immaculate. It's not perfect. It's actually pretty roached out. I got this from a guy named Charles Brimmigan. He lives outside of Georgetown, Texas. He just wanted to help out. He says, if you can cover my fuel and cost of time, $250, I'll hand deliver this car to you all the way from Texas on a trailer. So he did. And I actually gave him a little extra. I gave him $350 for his time and said thanks. As you can see, I think a log or something fell on that. Or what do they have in Texas that could fall on it? A snapping turtle?
Turtles? Yeah, I don't know what else.
Armadillo!
An armadillo hit the windshield. Okay. We're going to check this thing over. Obviously, it's not in good shape. It actually runs better than the one that's back there, which we will be using to transfer the parts over to make that one run like this one. There is all kinds of wiring, linkages, hinges, metal parts that you just really can't even find, even on eBay. I really scored by getting this entire car because if we need anything, it's going to be here. This one's a 1985. It's a little bit newer than the ones back there, but there's really not that much big differences. And when I've gotten all the parts that I need to make the gold one back on the road and happy again, I'll just part out the rest. I may keep the engine. Those are hard to come by. Maybe a future swap. Let's take a look around this thing and then we'll put it on the lift. I haven't even looked at it that much. I just know it's just going to be here for parts. I haven't spent much time with it, so let's take a look. I can tell whenever you go to look at a car and you see mud like this, it's either been sitting in mud or the tire was flat at that location. And I can look at the tread here that's about to bust. It was flat and sitting there for a long time. This thing has seen a rough life. It's seen an interesting life. It'd be kind of interesting to hear the story about this thing's life, if it could talk, what it's seen, what it's done. There's little stickers all over. This one says Hamburg. The paint is very poor. It's barely even there. It's just chalk, like chalk. Except for the windshield, all the glass is good. The wheels are, they're a little corroded, but I guess they could be used. This has Texas Department of Public Safety Officer Association, DPSOA, 1997. The bumper looks a little crooked. Oh, that's why, because it's being held on by 14.2 Romex wire. Awesome. Let's take a look in the trunk. Oh my. Yeah, we definitely don't want anyone to steal this thing. Good thing they included this with the sale. It's kind of a mess back here. There's some brand new belts. I imagine go to this car. The guy that sold this to me said he actually had a farm or cattle or something, and he would actually use this as his little tractor with no brakes. He would just put stuff back here and haul out whatever out to the farm and back again, and it worked. It did the job. So, I don't know. I guess it did that for him. Here's Mrs. Wizard's favorite. There's moss growing on it. She loves to take photos of moss.
Hey, nothing wrong with some good moss.
Going down this side, there's more algae or something growing on it. That's when you know a car has been sitting a long time, when algae has been allowed to grow on it. But I really don't care about that on this car. On the exterior, I'm not seeing too much major rust though. It may be a different story underneath. We'll put it on the lift here in a minute and find out. Okay, let's take a look on the inside and see if it's like a horror movie. Oh wow. That's a pretty cracked up dash. None of the wood on this car would be usable. Maybe a few pieces, but not much. The main thing I'm after is what's behind the dash, under the dash, wiring harnesses, things of that nature that you really can't buy anywhere. People talk about a place that you can get them from some Mercedes vintage place. I'm not sure what it's called or what they called it, but the prices are super high. I don't think me or the customer is interested in super high prices. Two interesting things about the back here. Actually, the back seat's in good shape. That's amazing. And secondly, this is the first 123 Mercedes that I've ever seen in my life, and I've seen a lot of them, that doesn't have the first aid kit in the back. Look at that. It's missing. The whole cap, everything's gone. Maybe the owner used it to take care of some of his cattle or something. Who knows? I don't need it. We have the original stuff in the gold one. Before we pop the hood, I guess we could take a look at the front. These bezels around the lights are pretty cracked up pretty bad. Those are not usable. Things like this, they're in decent shape. They could be reused, cleaned up. But not much else. The grill is not in great shape. Take a look under here. Under here is where it counts. There's a cruise control actuator. There's an injector pump if I needed one. And I know from it running just a minute ago, it actually runs smoother and better than the other one, the gold car. It runs actually very well. I was surprised. There's a turbo if I need it. And I know the glow plugs work on this car, but they do not work on the gold car. So here we have a glow plug control module, which is working. I know that it works. There's a whole set of wiring if I need it. I'll put new glow plugs in. Here's a mono valve. If that other one's cracked or damaged, I have another one there. And it has a really high performance battery because it came out of Hoovy's Murcielago. That's a Lamborghini battery. I don't think the car cares about that though. This little corrugated tubing is broke and no good. You can see that mice have been in here. There's little seeds. But amazingly, they didn't chew up the wires like on the other car. I checked over the harness not long ago, a lot of the places where the others were chewed up. And they're not chewed up on this car. So I'm really happy about that. And there's tons of vacuum valves and vacuum lines and things that if they're broken on the other car, we have a complete set on this car. This has got an oily sludge on it. It's from this PCV valve. You can see they taped it or glued it or something. It's not sealing and it's just blowing crankcase vapors all over the valve cover. There's the resistor coils there if I need it on the other car, wiper motor, whatever else I might need. Underneath, this thing looks like it's been through a few Texas rodeos. It's pretty oily. Not really bad oily, but there's a lot of dirt and mud, and I guess that really doesn't matter. It's a loose belt. Amazingly, here we talk about, like we did on the previous video on the gold one, we talked that these can leak, the lines can leak, and you can see it is on this car. If I were replacing that on the gold one, I wouldn't reuse used ones anyhow, I'd put new ones. The radiator looks like it's intact and not leaking though. The oil pan here looks like it's hit something. It's just a little bit dented in. It's not real bad, but definitely caved in a little bit. I bet the AC compressor's locked up. Oh, amazingly, it's not. Some of these parts, hard parts like control arms and bars and things, if I need some of that, that'll be on here. That's tight. I doubt that these are. There's a little play. They're not as bad as the gold one, but those will be replaced with new anyway. We talked about the downpipe from the turbo was broken and broke in half on the gold car. You can see the exhaust turbo downpipe is in very good shape. We're going to be replacing that with this one. That's worth its weight in gold right there. The transmission looks like it has a leak, or either that's oil from up above. I'm not sure. Really no concern for, I won't be using the engine or transmission in that car. And there's exhaust. And here we see holes in the floor. We talked about in the previous video how nice the bottom of the gold car was, and we can see the opposite of that on this car. Completely rotted out there, and also through here. That carrier support is no good on the drive shaft. And the flex joints are really bad cracked. Let's see right here. Bad cracked. The exhaust all the way back is in decent shape. It has a couple small dents on the muffler, but otherwise is intact. And I think on the gold car we were missing some components back here, like exhaust hangers or even the ears themselves, which are present on this car. These got age on them, but they're still holding. They're not cracked, and it's way better than baling wire holding it up. These CV boots are no good. They're just as bad as the ones that are on the other car. I was hoping that those would be nice, but I guess I didn't get lucky on that one, but that's okay. You can see some scrapes on the control arms. Maybe they did some off-roading in this thing. None of the tires are any good. You can see cracks, the belts separating on all four of them. Those would be no good at all. Those are new shocks in the back, and they don't look like they're leaking oil. If we need some shocks, there's some good shocks in the back. And here's the trunk pan. It's not rusted out amazingly, but I don't need that. I'm not going to wiggle the bumper because I don't need it to fall on me or Mrs. Wizard.
Please don't.
So let's get this thing back on the ground and finish it out. Here we can see the sway bar where it hooks to the upper control arm, and the bushings are completely shot on it. This would be an issue when you're driving down the road, that it would clunk really bad, it would be loose. That really is a contributing member of the suspension on these cars. The sway bar really holds this control arm steady, nice and solid. On the 240D that I had bought years ago, these were really bad. The whole thing would just clunk around like this. You can see they're pretty bad on this one too. So that's a common issue on the 123s, is upper control arm issues, a lot of slop in that area. Many of the parts that I listed when we went looking over this car, there were several things that I said that we could use for sure. The glow plug controller, the turbo downpipe, wiring, vacuum lines. If I were to piecemeal these parts on eBay or other places, I would easily spend $300 to $400 by the time I spend shipping and everything else. I spent $350 on this entire car. I will get all those parts I need, and then some if I need more that are unforeseen. And when I'm done, I can sell the parts off or sell it for scrap and get most of my money back. So it's really a win-win situation just to get an entire car. This one will never see the road again, ever. This would be the epitome of a car that you would not buy and put back on the road. You're not going to tow something like this to your friendly local mechanic and say, hey, let's get this thing fixed back on the road. This would be a car that I would say, absolutely not, I'm not interested, take it back home with you. Some of you in the comments have asked, where is the dividing line? Where do you cross the line where you've gone too far? The car is too far gone. This would be it. This car is good for parts, and that's it. The amount of money that it would take to get this clean and back on the road again will probably be 20 grand, parts and labor, easily. You got glass, bodywork, paint work, structural damage to the underside. You've got brakes, suspension. There's so many things wrong with this car. Luckily, we don't need any of those parts. So I'm very happy to have this car. It'll make getting the other one running so much easier. If we find something, oh, this is broke, that's broke, we just walk over here, we take it off of this one and put it onto that one. Back in business. One of the things to think about if you're going to get a parts car and you live inside a gated community with a homeowners association, they will not allow this to sit outside of your house. You will be getting nasty grams in the mail and maybe some fines. This is not something to do if you live in a really nice area. This is if you live out in the country, nobody's going to care, kind of like I do. But make sure you keep that in mind before you go grab one of these and put it out in your driveway, and then you get nasty letters in the mail. That cannot be in your driveway. It looks horrible. It's an eyesore. Make sure you have a game plan for after you're finished with the car. What are you going to do with it? I have a game plan that's going to get hauled off. There might be a few parts I can sell, but Crazy D in the office used to do salvage all of his life. That's what he's done. He knows exactly what to do with this car and where to go with it. So that's already handled. I have a perfect game plan. Make sure you have one too if you get a parts car. One thing to keep in mind is many parts cars will come without a title. You think, well, it's just a junky old car. Why do you need a title? When you take it to the salvage yard, they're not going to take the car from you without a title. Back in the 60s and 70s, you could do that. Not anymore. They require a title. That way it keeps theft in check. We're going to have many more videos as we start to take this thing apart and also start to repair the gold Mercedes and get it back on the road and happy again. You guys want to make sure you follow along with that. Many of the tools that we're going to be using to do the job are also listed in my Amazon affiliates link in the description below. And if you haven't hit the subscribe button already, I really recommend you do that now. We've got many more cool videos just with these two cars to come, and there's many more cars coming in the shop. Thanks for watching. One of the things to think of when you're getting, dang, people always have to gun their engines when they go by, don't they?
Yeah.
Go by here. Make sure you have a plan for it when you're done with